Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit, and we're going to give you our mock draft 2.0.
2.0 already. We're going with the classic mock drafter thing of if you just put as many out there as you can, then you can't be wrong. That's what I'm convinced Mel Kiper does.
Yeah, and then you just put them all together, and sooner or later, it's right.
Yeah, I haven't changed mine enough to really go for that because I liked my first draft. There were just a few things where I was like, that is awful. You know,
that's how I felt. Like I did my first draft. We went through it. I felt pretty good about it. The more film I watch, more YouTube videos I watch on players. I do like that they have coaching film on there. But yes, the more YouTube film I watch and the more I listen to people, I don't want to say I questioned my picks. I questioned what the teams were going to do.
Yeah, that's why.
So I went back, a few minor changes, nothing huge. But it did change some, and I found myself with maybe a different trade.
Yeah, and I definitely found myself with a different trade, maybe even a couple of different trades. Let's talk about shall we have a little chat about where we were most upset, where we went wrong in the first ones, just really quickly, because I do have like quite a few changes in here, but not a lot. I think Washington trading all the way up to 4 was a bit ambitious. They would have to give up a lot for that to happen. But I think, I still think that's a possibility. Washington could really do that, and I would really like to see them do it. I think it's just it's a bit of a stretch. I also was not happy with my Vikings pick. As much as I love Xavier Collins, that's just not what.
I like it too, but
it's not what the Vikings need.
Spielman would get ran out of town just because of what we need, but I like the kid. I would love to have him, and I get your point. And if you played more of a 3-4, then he'd be a lot more sense because you could rush him a lot more often. I like the pick. It would just not with the needs.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And then the Patriots at 15 as well with Gregory Rousseau's. That is his name, isn't it? Rousseau. Yeah.
Depending on who you hear say it, so that's what I'm going with.
We'll say that. His draft day just really put me. His pro day just really put me off, because if you have a bad pro day, we said nobody had a bad pro day, and then Rousseau had a bad pro day, and I was like, oh, that's really put me off. I looked more into it, and I was just like, are you just a freak of a guy who's like, you know? So I was kind of thinking down that kind of line.
Yeah, and it just depends on the team you have, because my team loves to get guys that are just freak athletes and turn them into Daniil Hunter, DJ Wanham, but that has a lot to do with Andre Patterson, one of the best D-line coaches, so you can do that. When you have a great, let's say, offensive line coach, you can do that. You know what I mean? And everybody has different styles, but I think just for him, his pro day didn't bother me because I looked at him as an unpolished monster.
Yeah.
So, I get it where it might bother people. For me, it didn't, just because I didn't expect him to blow the world, blow the doors off on the pro day, because I just watch him on tape and I'm like, this is a freak of a human being who, if they can harness this dude, is going to be insane.
Yeah. What did you have that really upset you? Where were you upset?
It wasn't really upsetting. It's just that I can't get over the fact that it seems like the more and more I listen, people actually think that highly of Mac Jones. And so I have to wrap my head around that there's 3 quarterbacks. Me and you talked about this. If we just set up a big board, best players available, screw position, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Trey Lance, Justin Fields, or Mac Jones are top 20 picks. But because they're quarterbacks, I have to wrap my head around the fact that how am I going to do this in the mock? Because other teams always overvalue quarterback and will reach because you need a quarterback or you got nothing. So I get that. But I really think for the first time in years, we're going to see huge overreaches in quarterbacks, almost back to when Christian Ponder and all Jake Locker and all those guys were drafted. And everybody's like, why did 4 guys who were second-round picks go in the first round? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I do also think that Fields I think that Fields creeps into the top 20. But I agree with you in the fact that we're talking about these guys and we're saying, we're probably going to argue over who the 49ers are going to pick. And we're both kind of saying, oh, well, if they do get into the top 20, then it's creeping in, or I don't
I
think
still
Mac
don't
Jones
think
is
it's
in the top
Mac
20
Jones,
talent.
but yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
I think that's all smoke screen, but we can get to that.
Right. So shall we get into who we've picked? So the Jags and Jets are the same way around, right?
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson,
Trevor
done
Lawrence,
deal.
Zach Wilson. Don't need to talk about them anymore. I do think the Jets could be tricked into picking somebody else by Kyle Shanahan if he really wanted to. Like, if he really just came out and went, Justin Fields is the guy, like, he's absolutely incredible. I think the Jets could possibly go with Justin Fields, not on he's better than Zach Wilson standpoint, but on a standpoint that they're a team that seems to go for popular opinion. And if you listen to the Rick Eisen show, he's convinced the Jets are going to find a way to screw this up.
Well, maybe. But the only thing I have to say is with Robert Saleh being in that organization, and they were looking at quarterbacks for this draft for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Robert Saleh knows what he really thinks. So that's the only reason I don't think you can like pull the wool over their eyes. And if you let somebody else's coach determine what you're going to do, then you're just a failure off the bat. And the Jets are still the Jets, and they just need to fire the GM and start over if that happens. Now, if you think Justin Fields is better, then you go get him. Now, you know what I mean? No matter what I think, what you think, what anybody else thinks. But if you believe the consensus that Zach Wilson is the guy, then you take him. But do not let somebody else make up your mind for you.
Yeah, and as much as people are kind of valuing Mac Jones very highly, I don't think the Jets could be convinced to take a Mac Jones. I think they want a guy who's going to like scramble in the backfield and win a game for them off the bat. And Wilson's that guy over all of them, even over Trevor Lawrence, where Wilson's going to sit and win a game like out the back, but Trevor Lawrence is like so much more of a stable pocket passer. Like if you can just protect him for a little bit, and he has athletic ability as well. But Zach Wilson seems to be the guy like the Mahomes. He'll just win you a game with his freakish way of playing. And Justin Fields could also be seen as that kind of guy as well, but Wilson's better at it. So 1 and 2, Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson on both of our boards. The 49ers, I have Justin Fields taken. I have the same top 3. I have Justin Fields going to the 49ers. What have you got?
I fucking pray they take Justin Fields. I fucking pray. Because that's one less team I have to worry about in the playoffs, in the NFC. Take Justin Fields, kill the 49ers. Now I no longer have to worry about them. Neither do your Cowboys. Chalk it up, take them. But I got them. I didn't move on this. I think the whole thing's a fucking smokescreen. I do not think you give up that much to move up and get a guy who can't move. And I truly believe they want to keep Jimmy G for a year, which to me says Trey Lance. So I'm not moving from it. But if they take Mac Jones, I think they wasted a bunch of picks because I think you had a good shot at getting Mac Jones where you sat at 12. So I don't know. Maybe it is Justin Fields, but I definitely do not believe it is Mac Jones.
Yeah, I think Justin Fields is the reason that those 3 picks are the reason that'll be Justin Fields over Mac Jones. So I'm guessing you've gone for Trey Lance, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Trey Lance is, he's the same kind of guy as Fields. Just Fields is a bit further on. Fields is more like the guy, like he's played in college. He was touted as the number 2 pick for a long time behind Lawrence.
I know, but I watched that Northwestern game. I watched that game. I watched a lot of Fields games, and I'm not saying, I've said this before, I'm not saying that he's definitely going to be a bust or he's Jamarcus Russell, whatever. I'm just saying that out of all the quarterbacks I've watched, I really think once you get past the top 2, the guy with the biggest potential is Trey Lance. And I'm not sold that Justin Fields can run the pro style offense. I know if Dan Orlovsky was here, he would cuss me out and tell me I'm crazy. But I'm just saying, I think maybe I'm crazy, but I think people are nuts to think you move up for Mac Jones. So I agree it has to be one of those 2. I just think the bigger upside is Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance fits more of what Shanahan wants to do, but we'll see who's right in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I agree. But I think it's we'll see who's right. in a year. After a year, we'll see if it's.
Well, I meant who they pick.
But who they pick, right. Yeah, who they pick. I would pick Fields. I do think they are being genuine about Mac Jones. This kind of this new reporting that's coming up this week of Kyle Shanahan just wants a guy who'll come in, run their offense, not ad lib and stuff. I'm kind of like, oh, I get where you are with that, but why wouldn't you want a guy who can also ad lib?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Come in and just run it.
If we went and redrafted the draft in their primes, would Matt Ryan or Kirk Cousins be the third overall pick? No. And that's the comparables, right? That's the two comparables you get with Mac Jones every time. Plus the fact Alabama quarterbacks don't seem to pan out. I know it's because they have a ton of talent around them. So it's probably a bigger jump to the NFL. It's a little, but that's not saying he can't, and that's not saying an Alabama quarterback will never make it. I'm just saying, like, history tells me a lot of stuff when it comes to Mac Jones, right? Yeah. And I just think the whole idea to take a guy who can't move, not that he's as dead as we said at the beginning, but he ain't Trey Lance, he ain't Justin Fields when it comes to moving. He doesn't have the arm strength to either of those two. It's just crazy to me, but okay.
I think whoever goes to the 49ers has probably the best shot of working out. That's how I feel about it, because you get, like, there's that whole aspect of only half of these guys won't work out, and a lot of it's based on kind of what environment you go to, and the 49ers are the best environment out of the people who are going to be taking quarterbacks, apart from what could happen a bit later on with one of the quarterbacks who falls, maybe. So pick 4. What have you got?
See, I got Matt Ryan 2.0. This is where Mac Jones goes. And the reason Mac Jones goes here is because Kyle Shanahan just talked that kid up. And this is where stupidity comes into the draft. And they take Mac Jones. That's my guess.
Have you got the Falcons taking Mac Jones?
Yep.
I think that would be amazing. Not amazing. Good. I think that would be crazy if they did that. I think if the Falcons are going to pick that and they're going to pick a quarterback, it's Trey Lance. If the Falcons are going to pick there, I would take Kyle Pitts. Screw needs, just take the best guy that's
you and I agree,
on the
but
board.
These teams, I've been reading more and more, still have a problem with the fact that he's called a tight end. And they still have this problem. I agree. But I've been reading a lot of stuff from reporters who have inside stuff, and they're like, we love the guy. He might be the best guy in the draft, but you can't take a tight end that high.
Yeah, So for all those reasons I just said, I don't have the Falcons actually picking there. It's a slightly smaller jump that I've got. I've got the Broncos moving from 9 to 4 to pick Mac Jones. And I think they do that. They're not happy with Drew Lock. And even though, is Mac Jones going to be a massive upgrade on Drew Lock? Who knows? I'm not 100% on that, but they're the kind of team where Mac Jones could be successful if the 49ers don't pick him. They've got a lot of weapons to throw to, so Mac Jones would kind of make sense. The reason that I've got them trading, because if you looked at the board as it is, you would say they maybe don't actually have to trade up to get to Mac Jones if you look at teams' needs. So are the Falcons going to take a quarterback? Maybe, but I think they'd take Trey Lance. You think they'd take Mac Jones. So that makes sense for the Broncos to trade up. The Bengals won't take one. The Dolphins probably won't take one. The Lions probably won't take one. The Panthers now won't take one. And then it's the Broncos. But with a team like New England sitting there, there's a few teams that can move up that high, and the Broncos could put together a good trade package to get up to 4. So if these teams do believe that Mac Jones is the guy, like they're all saying, then it's worth trading up to 4 to go get him. And I do think he would kind of fit in that team. It's just, is he just a distributor? How much of an upgrade is he on Drew Lock? Like, I'm not a big fan of Drew Lock, but
it's not even the player I disagree with. I don't think George Payton, who is the Vikings assistant GM for a million years, who is now the Denver's GM, is going to take a quarterback this year. That's not how he came up building a team. I don't think that'll happen. I don't think that he would be a guy to move up to take a Kirk Cousins type coming out of Minnesota, but maybe Maybe he blows me away and goes exact against everything that Minnesota does, and he has a different vision. But if he follows the suit, I don't think they would take a quarterback. But if they did, again, this is my feeling of Mac Jones. Aren't you just taking Drew Lock 2.0?
I know. I agree with you, but
I get where you're coming from. If they're not sold on Drew Lock, you got to go get a quarterback. And we're in the NFL now where it's like, get a quarterback, give him 2-3 years, crumple him up, throw away, get another quarterback until you find one. They don't develop anymore.
Yeah, and I don't think that would be a bad landing spot for Mac Jones as well. I think he would be happy with that. Like if they improve their offensive line a bit, like if they get to an offensive lineman in the second round of the draft, if then they go and improve their defense, then they improve their secondary a little bit in the later rounds of the draft, then Mac Jones is in a good spot. If
you're Mac Jones, don't you almost pray that you fall to the Steelers or something?
Yeah. You want to be like, if you're Mac Jones, Justin Fields, or Trey Lance, you want to be either the 49ers. I think the Broncos is a good place to be. Like Denver is by all accounts, a very fun city to be in, and a big sporting town. And if you play well in Denver, then you're pretty set. A team like the Patriots always come up.
Right, but you want to fall if you're one of the guys.
And then you want to be in the Steelers, yeah. And then the Steelers is a great team on the board for you to fall to as well. There are some great places for you to fall to, and it's weird to be praying to fall, really, isn't it? So what you really want is for them to come up and get you. But these guys that get upset when they're falling, all I'd be thinking was, well, at least I'm going to a better team. Like, as long as I go to a guy,
I want them to be mad, but I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? I want them to be the competitor where it pisses them off, but I agree with you. They're better off falling.
Yeah, it's like what Trevor Lawrence said today is kicking up a bit of a storm, isn't it? Where he said, I don't have a chip on my shoulder. Like, and his dad was like, he could walk away from the game at any time. He's got a really healthy balance. And you're like, people are mad at that. And I'm sat here thinking, I'm like, well, that's a healthy way to be. Like, it's nice for your quarterback to have a good
but we don't care about
balance,
healthy in the NFL. Exactly, we care about dogs. We want winners,
Exactly.
We want you to be so psycho that you go to the verge of breaking the law, but you don't do it. We want this weird, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and that's something that we should definitely talk about, like next week or something like that. That would be good to talk about. Yeah, and then pick number 5, Bengals. Who have you got?
Penei Sewell. We talked about this in the last podcast. I think they're fucking stupid if they don't.
Yeah, me too. If you want to know our feelings about that, go check the last mock draft 1.0, because we said it all there. It's pointless. Pointless if Joe Burrow can't throw the ball to get a weapon for him to throw it to, isn't it?
Yes.
And if he's injured, what's he going to do if he's not on the field? And Penei Sewell is...
You got him killed last year with an injury that potentially could have ruined him.
Yeah, and the words generational talent has been used about Penei Sewell. He seems to be a start, like in most people's minds, he's a starting left tackle. Obviously, far be it from me to evaluate great offensive linemen, but from what I've seen, he's a very, very good offensive lineman.
I really believe he's a day one starter.
Yeah, I agree. He goes straight in. And then the Dolphins at 6, take Kyle Pitts. Now, Kyle Pitts is the best weapon on the board. He's possibly the second best player on the board, on the big board. For some people, he's the first best player on the big board. Like, what's the problem with having a tight end who can also play wide receiver? Like, he's an absolute monster. Why wouldn't you want him on your team?
I don't disagree with you, but the more I read and the more I watch, the more I listen, and this is these next 2 weeks are nothing but bullshit. So you have to go prior to all of this. I'm convinced that they take Jamar Chase still.
I think that's crazy. It's not the worst move. It's not like if somebody was to take, like, it's not like if somebody was like, to take Jalen Waddle or something up there. Like, I don't dislike Jalen Waddle, but he's not in the same class as Pitts, Chase, and Devontae Smith. But Pitts is just a weapon that can play everywhere as a receiver. So wide receiver who can play on the outside. He can play tight end. You can almost say he can play in the slot with a tight end wide receiver hybrid. Like he can block for the run game. Like he's not the best blocker in the world, but if you have him in, then everybody will be like pass, 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 and then it's like, oh, actually, I can block too. And then
I do know a
the guy
lot
for
of
the
people
run.
are worried about, because of the way the NFL is played, that he gets Rob Gronkowski because everybody's going to go for his knees. And so then you end up missing 8 games a year, 6 games a year. I've read a lot of that too.
Yeah, but how many Super
We're
Bowls
at
has
the
Rob
time of
Gronkowski
year
won?
where they give you all the reasons why a guy sucks.
Yeah.
They're convincing themselves right now on why not to draft a guy. So they start out talking about why to draft a guy. In the last couple of weeks, they start convincing themselves on why not to, which becomes a whole ridiculous ordeal. And teams do crazy shit then. But I love Jamar Chase. I think he's the number 1 ranked receiver in the draft.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he ends up being the number 1 receiver in the draft, but right now I have him ranked as the number 1 receiver in the draft.
Yeah, if you call Kyle Pitts a tight end, then Jamar Chase is the number 1 receiver in the draft.
I think Jalen Waddle has a chance to be the best wide receiver to come out of this draft.
Yeah, I know I just slated Jalen Waddle, but like coming out of college, he's not the top guy. But like I do totally understand what you mean. Like Jalen Waddle doesn't fall too far in my.
And
draft.
That's not a slight at Chase or Pitts. I'm just saying with what this kid does, I think he has the potential.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's Kyle Pitts for me, Jamar Chase for you. Not too bad picks. It just baffles me. And people talking about,
I wouldn't be upset with them if they took Pitts. It's just that
I wouldn't be upset if they took Chase.
More and more that Pitts is going to make a fall that blows everybody away.
If Pitts falls to the Cowboys, I'm taking him.
Well, I don't have him falling that far, but
yeah, exactly. Exactly. He won't fall. In my eyes, he won't fall to 10. And all this talk is across the Cowboy group chats, and it's like, why would we take Pitts when we need to build our defense and stuff? And it's like, well, Pitts is a once in a generation talent, so you take him, but you don't trade up to go get him because then that ruins all of our picks for defense as well. But anyway,
right.
By the by, this isn't a Dallas Cowboys podcast. This is an NFL podcast. And at 7, we have the Detroit Lions, and I've got them taking Jamar Chase. I've switched.
Okay, this is where I have Jalen Waddle going, and I think he is the perfect fit. He makes up for everything they lost with Gap and everything. And I think he's a Dan Campbell type of dude. I think he's a tough-nosed kid. I think that he'll get in there. I think he can be their number 1 receiver. I think he'll be great for them. And the more and more I was reading Detroit press, because if anybody wants, go check out NFC North on Facebook. Shameless plug. But I've been reading a lot for the NFC North page, and I'm convinced they're going Jalen Waddle.
I think Jalen Waddle's a good fit. If he's going to go higher than Smith and higher than Pitts, then it's the Lions, that kind of team that'll take him, where they just need like an out and out ridiculously talented guy, and Jalen Waddle is ridiculously quick. He's a big man.
I think for some reason you and I like Smith better than most teams.
I really like Smith.
Me too. Love him.
The reason I've got him falling, so I've got him going all the way down to 12 at the Eagles.
Okay, we're close.
On my draft board. The reason that I've got him falling that far is because people are worried about his size, but it's a different NFL where you can't hit people over the middle. So he's not going to get beat up too much. And why would it all of a sudden be a problem? Like the guy's the first Heisman Trophy winner at wide receiver for ages. Why would his size all of a sudden be a problem? Like it's not like he's not playing massive corners in college. Like maybe they're not as quick in college as they are in the NFL, but they're still massive dudes like that he's playing. He made JC Horn look stupid, like in the game that he played against him. You know? So why is it all of a sudden a problem? Why is his size all of a sudden a problem? But I do like Jalen Waddle. I think he will be a good pick. I actually prefer Waddle to the Lions more than Smith to the Lions, but that's only because of my lack of faith in the Lions not knowing how to use him properly. Whereas if you get Jalen Waddle, the guy's like a freak who you can just lob the ball up to and he'll like the dude will go get it. Like he's a more classic wide receiver, so they know what they're doing.
I agree. I agree with everything you said. I can't argue. I just, I think teams get into this rut where they're like, okay, this kid is good, but I don't like him unless we can get him after 15. Or this kid is good, which to me drives me insane. But I also think that receiver is not always the most important to the team when drafting. So I think that gets in the way sometimes too.
Yeah.
And I think teams that would have happily taken Devontae Smith are going to end up with different needs. So that's why he falls for me.
Yeah, definitely. And like, again, Waddle's a good pick. What I had in the first draft was Micah Parsons going to the Lions. And the reason that I had Micah Parsons going to the Lions is because of Dan Campbell's kind of feelings about how football should be played, let's say. And kneecap bite-ins and looking for badasses and stuff. And it's kind of like, is he going to let that overtake the talent side of it? Like, is he going to be looking for badasses too much? Which is why he wouldn't take Devontae Smith, by the way. That is why he won't take him, because he's like, oh, it's this little dude. Like, how much does he fit into my idea of kneecap biting, you know? And that's why he would go for Chase, or he would go for Waddle, like more animals. I thought Micah Parsons would be a better kind of setter as the new culture. And I still think Micah Parsons to the Lions could potentially happen. I just think with their off-season business, they do need a weapon now. Like, they've just got rid of all their weapons. And I wouldn't be surprised.
I get what you're saying about Micah Parsons, but I think if anybody takes him in the top 10, they're crazy just because of his character issues.
Yep. Well, I'm crazy.
What if you have a Jeff Gladney incident? You know what I mean? Like right after you draft him, the kid hasn't proven that he's still not going to do dumb shit. And that would scare me. That's all. It has nothing to do with his on field. It's his off field, but yes.
Yeah. And then the Panthers at 8. So the Panthers at 8, they're a team that went and got Sam Darnold in between mock draft 1 and mock draft 2. And with
my pick, if Sam Darnold doesn't make it, it's because he sucks. Yeah. And I picked Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, Panthers. So now,
I like it.
If he does not succeed, that shit is on him.
I love that pick. I really like that pick. I never thought about it the way that your board was shaping up. If Kyle Pitts falls to the Panthers, take him. Panthers, take him straight away. If Kyle Pitts falls to Dolphins, Lions, Panthers, take him. If the Falcons still can't find a trade back and they're picking up 4, take Kyle Pitts. I agree. I love that pick. If Sam Darnold sucks in that offense and he gets Kyle Pitts, that's on him. And I won't defend him anymore.
Maybe that's exactly what he needs to succeed, too. I wasn't saying it as I was like, he's going to suck. You know how I feel about it.
Yeah, you want him to succeed, but like...
I just don't think he's going to. Yes.
Yeah, but which is fair enough. Yeah. And if he does suck in that, it's the same thing as what the Giants are doing.
I know it's a little off topic, but did you see that Kyle Shanahan offered a first-round pick for Sam Darnold? The Jets turned it down, then decided they wanted to trade him because they hadn't made up their mind. This just came out last night.
All right.
And then the 49ers had already moved up to 3. So that offer was no longer on the table.
Is that not the most Jets thing you've ever heard in your entire life?
Yeah, and poor Sam Darnold, because if you are going to succeed, Mike Shanahan
and Kyle
Shanahan are the guys.
Yeah. If he goes to the 49ers, he's on fire. But if the Panthers are a good team as well. And if
I just was like...
Yeah, I know. Poor Sam Darnold. So the Jets have screwed him. Since he's come out of the draft, the Jets have just screwed him. Like, he's had no chance to succeed.
Right.
Fuck the Jets, man. Honestly, that sucks. Right, I've got them taking. I've got the Panthers taking Rashaan Slater.
Yeah, good pick.
Yeah, Rashaan. There's not really much to say about that. Their offensive line isn't incredible. Yeah, the offensive line isn't incredible. Rashaan Slater is easily the next best offensive lineman on the board after Penei Sewell. Again, starting tackle straight from the off. Yeah. Rashaan Slater to the Panthers, which kind of messes up what the Vikings want to do at 14, but we'll talk about that later on. Well, Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, not for you. I know what you've done.
With number 9, I have a trade.
Yeah.
I have Denver trading back to 15 and trading with New England because, again, I don't think Denver's going for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Because, and coming from the school of the Vikings, I think it would be very Spielman-like if Peyton traded back. And so I got that in New England trading up for Justin Fields.
Yeah, I've got all of those. Like, I've got potential trade moves at the bottom of my draft here. A New England to well, I've got the Falcons picking at 9. I could have the Falcons trading back again, which would make a lot of sense. Like, imagine the amount of picks they've accrued from doing that. I would have the Falcons trading back again, Dallas trading back. Like, this is where, if New England are going to make their move, this is where they make their move in picks 9, 10, 11, and 12. So all the Dallas Eagles and the Dallas, Philadelphia, and New York could all trade as well. And the Falcons, who I've got picking at 9. But I also like Denver doing it if they decide that they're not going for a quarterback. I think they will go for a quarterback, but if they decide they're not going for one, then that's a great place for them to trade. And you've got them taking Justin Fields. Now, Justin Fields in New England would make me very happy, apart from the fact I don't like New England. But the only reason I don't like New England, if there's any New England fans out there, is you bastards are doing so well. So what, like, you've done so well for so long, so people are going to hate you. It's the same reason that people hate the Cowboys. You know, they did well for so long, relevant for so long, you know?
You don't have to hate the Patriots, though, because the reason they won is in Tampa.
Love it.
I think this would be the most New England pick ever, and people are like, they don't move up. The reason I think it's the most New England pick ever is because I don't think Justin Fields is going to be good, and I think Bill Belichick blows his first-round picks.
Yeah, well, you know, I think Justin Fields will be good in New England. I think he will work really well. And in that offense that they've seemingly built for Cam Newton, Justin Fields would make a lot of sense. I could also see them with Justin Fields going early on. I could see the Falcons trading back, New England trading up for Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance would find himself in a good spot in New England. If he needs to sit a year, everybody's saying the guy needs to sit a year. He may not need to sit a year. That's what people said about Justin Herbert. He might not need to sit a year, but if you wanted to choose someone to sit behind for a running quarterback who needs some lessons in, like, who might want some lessons in professionalism and stuff, Cam Newton would be a great person to sit behind.
I think Trey Lance sitting behind Cam Newton would be awful because you're going to teach him what not to do as a quarterback. But to be honest and fair, first of all, I don't think Justin Fields is a very good quarterback.
Yeah.
Unlike what I said with Sam Darnold, I am not cheering for Justin Fields to make it because he's a Buckeye. And in Wisconsin, we hate Ohio State. We hate Ohio State. Fuck eyes. Fuck Ohio State. So, no, I'm not cheering for him. And that's just me being petty.
I could also see the Bears trading up to make to that kind of spot. 9, 10, 11,
I got the Bears
12.
trading back, but okay.
Yeah, but if they need a quarterback, like that's what they need. They're just in such a screwed situation, you know? Like, I could see them trading up to there. Washington could also trade up to there to go get their quarterback. You know, there's all of that
it's
kind
just,
of stuff.
You have to give up so much to move up.
Yeah,
far.
you have to make. That's the thing. You have to give up so much, and with the way that our draft boards are going, it's not beyond the possibility that people will still fall further than that. I've got the Falcons staying where they are at 9, even though I do like the move of trading back if you're the Falcons, because to move from 4 all the way down to, let's say they trade with New England all the way down to 15, but do it through 2 teams, you've picked up a lot of picks to do that. And they have a lot of holes, but they're not the biggest holes in the world. So, but if I'm the Falcons, I'd take the best defensive player on the board, and that's Micah Parsons in my eyes.
Not a bad pick.
Yeah, just I get the character problems. Atlanta as a city is probably not one of the best places to be if you've got those character problems, to be perfectly
honest.
honest.
Figure if you're drafting them, you're okay with it. So
yeah, I'm good with the I'm good with the character issues. I think he'll be fine. But I really like it as a pick if the character issues are totally okay. Now my Dallas Cowboys at number 10. What have you got?
Patrick Surtain.
Patrick Surtain the second. That's exactly who I've got as well. I wouldn't mind them taking Caleb Farley. I really like Caleb Farley, but with the back injuries, you can't do that, and you just can't. Like it's
you never know when
it's so unfortunate. Yeah,
it's going to happen again, and you never know when. You know what I mean?
And the thing is, Farley, if Farley's 1, then Surtan's 1A. He's not like there's no way Surtan's that much worse than Farley when you look at all the film.
Right, and
Surtan
I know that
makes massive plays.
I know that Farley got cleared with his medicals and they came back good, but the more I listen to doctors talk about this is one of those injuries that with the back, and it could happen at any time, and it's probably not if it's going to happen, it's when.
Yeah, and the Cowboys are another one of those teams where you could see them trading back. So there is only one reason I do that, and it's if you're confident that Caleb Farley's injury, if it's a reoccurring one, which it seems like it will be, you can take care of it, and you believe that if you get 10 games out of him in a season, if you include the playoffs, then that's going to be fine. So if you want to do that, then I'm okay with it. I wouldn't move back for any other player because I wouldn't want to take Patrick Surtain. I wouldn't want to leave Patrick Surtain, him go to the Eagles, and then you're taking JC Horn. And it's not that I hate JC Horn. It's just the Cowboys have proven that they don't really know how to use JC Horn type of player when they took Byron Jones, who's just a massive, lengthy guy. And some of the techniques are a little questionable. He got absolutely lit up by Devontae Smith. So, but I love Patrick Surtain. So I would take Patrick Surtain just because he seems like a more kind of ready guy for the NFL as well. And I think he'll be a great pick. And I think the secondary will start to look okay. I'm not saying you want Trayvon Diggs, second year, Wilson in the slot or playing safety, who only came big last year, and then a rookie on the other side at cornerback as well. Like, it's not going to be incredible, but it won't be too bad. No, and
it's a good setup because then your secondary is getting stronger for the future.
Yeah.
I truly believe that you're going to have to make moves at safety. I'm not sure. Like, Curse is not an every down safety. I'm not sure the guys you brought in.
Yeah, we need a safety.
So I think, but I'm saying, I think that now you can say, okay, we got our 2 starting corners. Now let's worry about something else.
Yeah, or they'll take a safety in the second or third round.
Right, but I just
wherever they like the O-lineman and the safety.
By taking Surtain, and now you're like, okay, that's one part we don't have to worry about. Now we can move to something else, and you get one of the top guys in the draft. At number 11 with the Giants, I got Rashaan Slater because I figure
great pick.
You better make it so that Danny Dimes has every opportunity also, because he's looking like it's about time to crumple him up, throw him away, and pick a new one.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. It's exactly the same as what you were saying the Panthers should do with Sam Darnold. That is what the Giants are doing. They're assembling a team on the offense down there, and if Danny Dimes is the guy that they want him to be, he has to show it this year. This is the year to show it. I think Daniel Jones is an okay quarterback, but with the way the NFL is, with the way these college guys are coming out and playing, then you need him to be better than all right. You need him to be good. And with the offense they're assembling, it does worry me a little. When we did our predictions for the NFC East, we both said, the Giants have an outside chance. I believe they're starting to have more than an outside chance. I've got them taking Kwity Paye. In other NFL drafts years, Kwity Paye is not a top defensive end, but there are a lot of questions about the defensive ends that are remaining. And Kwity Paye is the one with probably the least questions. He's answered more questions than he has questions left to answer. And I think he's a really good player. I really like Kwity Paye. He's like an explosive lineman, can make a play, really like him. And then the Giants have got a decent offensive line. If Rashaan Slater's still there, you take him. I agree with you, but I think he'll be gone by then. And I like Kwity Paye, and I think that's a great place for him to go. If on your board, if you're the Chargers or the Vikings, do you look at the Giants there and say, right, if Rashaan Slater's not gone by the Giants, shall we call them and get up and take Rashaan Slater?
So the more and more I've been looking into it, I don't think the Vikings are going to draft an offensive lineman in the first round.
Right, okay.
Well, I forgot. We have Kyle Hinton sitting on that we drafted last year who's going to play guard, but he was a center. That kid's going to move to guard this year. I'm already convinced that they're going to move Ezra Cleveland to left tackle because that's what we drafted him for. They wanted him to sit a year behind Riley Reid first, but we were so bad at guard, they had to play him at guard. So we got Brian O'Neill, who's one of the best right guards in the league. You put Ezra Cleveland at left guard. You put Bradbury at center, obviously, because that's what he's there. We have Hinton that's going to play guard. So now they only need one more guard. So, but we also have Oli Udoh, who could start. He could be tackle or guard. They drafted him a year ago for the same reasons to develop. So the more and more I think about it, I think the Vikings feel better at the offensive line than us fans do.
Yeah, I think they've when you say that, I'm not an offensive line guru. I don't look into a lot of teams that are my own offensive line unless it's an absolute need for them. But I really like the idea of I would, if I was looking, definitely as the Chargers, I think, where they're like, right, let's fix that.
I have the Chargers.
Off-season.
I think the Chargers need an offensive lineman.
Yeah, there is an offensive lineman there that they can take.
Besides Penei Sewell, I don't think any of those offensive linemen are worth a top 10 pick. But again, we're not in the top 10 anymore. So that's, you know what I mean? But that's just me. And again, offensive linemen are almost becoming like quarterbacks. You better get them when you can get them.
Yeah,
but
I'm just thinking if Slater's still there, it would be a tempting thing to do.
That's for left tackles, right? So go get them. I said that wrong. Left tackles are becoming like quarterbacks. I didn't mean offensive linemen. If there's one, you go get them. Personally, I'm not sure outside of Penei Sewell and Slater that any of the other guys are actually tackles.
Yeah, which is why I think that the Chargers could definitely, if he's still there, they won't move all the way up to Carolina to get him. They wouldn't be able to get up to 8. It wouldn't be worth giving up that much because there is a guy that's on there that we spoke about the last time. We think he's really good. Lots of people think he's also going to be a good tackle as well, in Christian Darrisaw. But you can see the Chargers moving up there to get him. I've got the Giants staying put, taking Kwity Paye. What have you got the Eagles taking?
Devontae Smith, same as you, but I didn't want to blow it both when you said it.
Yeah, Devontae Smith. Got to be. If he's there, you take him. And that really pisses me off as a Cowboys fan. But if he's there for the Eagles, you take him. The reason the Cowboys don't take him is because we don't need any receivers. You know, the reason the Falcons don't take him is they need to sort out their defense.
Everything.
Yeah, the Giants they've just gone and got Kenny Golladay. So, you know, but the Eagles, after getting rid of Deshaun Jackson as well, could really do with Devontae Smith. The Eagles could do with a lot. So just take the best player on the board, which is Devontae Smith.
What? 13, who you got the Chargers taking?
Christian Darrisaw.
Yeah, we got the same again, back to back.
Yeah, Christian Darrisaw is a very good. I think he's going to be a good tackle. I like Christian Darrisaw. He could be a tackle.
He could be a guard, but I know his measurables scare people off from the whole tackle thing. So I'm not sure how everybody drafts because they're so into the underwear Olympics when it comes to the height, the measurables, the arm length, the reps, the this, the that.
Yeah.
And they figure, like we just said, this is a time of year where they figure out every reason to tell you why you suck.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Christian Darrisaw is good. And that will be a really good offseason for the Chargers from the outside looking in, where you look at them and you think, yep, your offensive line looks sorted. Good. Well done.
Your defense is solid. Protect your investment in
Justin Herbert. Yeah.
Yeah.
The wide receiver core is good. Last year, they should have done better than their record suggests they did. They should have done. They're a better team than their record was. Their coaching. They've made an upgraded coaching and the Chargers should be good. I think Christian Darrisaw is a good pick for them. Any offensive lineman, the best offensive lineman that they could possibly get. If it's on your board, I would love to see the Chargers go get Rashaan Slater if he falls to the Giants. And then at number 14, your Minnesota Vikings. What have you got them doing?
It's not the pick I would pick, but I'm convinced this is where Kwity Paye goes.
What's the pick you would pick?
I personally would want another guard. I just don't think they're going to do it. That's what I was saying. I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to do it, but I personally would love a guard. I would actually like to see them, if they didn't have to give up everything and to go up and get maybe a Slater or a Penei Sewell, but you'd have to give up a ton. Then you could just keep Ezra Cleveland as a guard, because PFF had it rated almost at 67 last year, which if people look as a rookie for a guard, that's high level guard play for a rookie is 67. So, and he's only going to get better, right? So I'd love to see him be able to stay there, develop, but I don't think that's what they're going to do. So this is where I think Kwity Paye goes off the board, because I think they're really worried about Danielle Hunter's injury.
I actually really like Kwity Paye as a pick to the Vikings. I know you don't. I know, like,
it's not him. It's just that I want an offensive
I know you want a lineman, but
went.
if they say that they're confident in the line, then you're happy with that pick, right? I really like Kwity Paye. I think he goes before that, but that's just because of how my board's fallen. I really like the idea of the Vikings improving their defensive line. I just don't think there's any defensive ends that don't have enough questions
I get it.
You know,
but everybody's like, the Vikings need to upgrade their defensive line. Well, Michael Pierce sat out last year because of COVID. Back. We got the top 3 technique in free agency in Delvin Tomlinson from the Giants. We got Danielle Hunter coming back, who is the youngest player in NFL history to 50 sacks. DJ Wanham is an up-and-comer, and Stephen Weatherly coming back. I love. So I think people outside of the Vikings
underestimating him. I think the Vikings are a massively underestimated team.
I also think they want Kwity Paye because nobody knows Danielle Hunter's neck injury.
Yeah.
And I know he wants a new contract. I know he outplayed his contract. How big of a contract does he want? So by taking Kwity Paye, you have leverage to say we can let this dude walk or trade him if we have to. So that's why I think it's smart. It's a good move. But personally, I think we need more help at the offensive line. I think we've proven Dalvin Cook's a monster. We have offensive weapons. If you protect Kirk Cousins, he can ball out, but you have to protect him. He's not going to run all over the field. So, but that's just me. Like, either way, I'm not going to cry if they pick up a lineman, if they pick up Kwity Paye. I wouldn't even cry if, let's say, some crazy freaking reason Patrick Surtain fell down there and we have a million corners in Minnesota right now. I'd be okay with that too. So where they're sitting, I think they're sitting pretty to get a really good guy. I just wish it was an offensive lineman.
The more I think about it, I think the more you'll enjoy what I've done with your 14th pick. So I've got them trading out of the 14th pick to the Washington football team.
That's all we ever fucking do. No, I don't enjoy it anymore. Every fucking year, trade back. I'm in front of the TV like, we're going to draft. We have a trade. Fucking, yeah, I get it. That's a Spielman move.
The reason that I think they would do that is, for some reason, I think they just want a left tackle. And I think there's a lot going around where Elijah Vera Tucker isn't a tackle. Like, or they just want to tackle. And there's a lot that seems to say that, oh, Elijah Vera Tucker's a guard. Why would you take him and play him at tackle? Like, why would you do that? And so I just don't think they'd pick Elijah Vera Tucker there.
I also think there's a good play where you're coming in right here. I also think there's a good chance that trade with the Ravens still happen for Orlando Brown.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they were just like, I just don't think they'll take Elijah Vera Tucker. And Trey Lance is still on my board. The Washington football team jumped the Patriots.
I think the Vikings would take him if he was still sitting there, but okay, go ahead.
Be crazy. But I think the Washington football team would jump him. I said this in the last mock draft where I was like, if I'm the Washington football team, I play this as aggressive as hell, because the NFC East is a division that's up for grabs. If you find a way to get a guy who's going to be there for ages, the Washington football team, like, are the best team in the NFC East. Like, if they find a guy at quarterback who is the guy, then they're the best team in the NFC East. I don't mind saying that. I know you think they are already, but I just think quarterback is such an important position, and Dak Prescott is better than Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh yeah,
over a consistent measure. And you've got to remember the Cowboys, Giants, and Eagles are all picking high up, so they can get decent players to fix their needs. So I think they've got to play this as aggressive as hell, jump the Patriots to Trey Lance, give up. They will give up a decent chunk, and the Vikings seem to me from the outside like the Vikings aren't the sexiest team. So I haven't been following them for a long time. I haven't been following them as much as I follow, like, obviously the Cowboys, everybody in the NFC East, and other teams that are like more talked about in the news cycle. But the way I'm looking at it is like, how about some depth in the Vikings? You know, like it seems like
I just want to let you know we're bringing sexy back.
Please do. I love Minnesota as well. I actually love the Vikings. They were one of my teams, and I just think Trey Lance will be a good move for the Washington football team.
I don't mind that whole idea. I just am so sick of trading back because I get excited for the pick. But I really believe that if Trey Lance is sitting there, Minnesota takes the hometown kid, sits him behind Kirk Cousins, because I think the Vikings are like, Kirk's okay. Kirk's pretty good, but I don't think they're sold on giving him the next contract for $40 million. So you got him for 2 years. You can move on from him next year if you have a rookie quarterback where the cap hit wouldn't kill you. So I almost think that maybe you let him sit behind him for 2 years, but I don't think the Vikings want to give Kirk Cousins $40 million. So if they don't find a quarterback this year, which I don't think they're going to go hunting, they have to find one next year.
Yeah, I didn't actually think about that, and I do actually really like the spot for Trey Lance if he ends up there.
But that is a very Spielman thing to do, is to trade back. So I mean, they call him Trader Rick.
Yeah, and there's a guy who in our off-season needs pick, I got very hot on, who is a tackle that they'll be able to take, and they're only trading back to 19. It's not like they're trading back a mile. Right. So the Patriots are stuck there at 15. Who have you got?
Well, I had them trade up. So I got Denver picking at 15.
You've got Denver picking there, sorry.
And Denver picks Micah Parsons.
Yep, great. You know, if he's still there, you take him. Like, if he's still there for you, obviously, there's obviously teams with needs ahead of him. But if he's, and I can see how he can fall that far if you take his character issues in. I've gone for the next best linebacker on the board, which is Xavier Collins. In my opinion, people like Jeremy Owusu-Koramoah more, but I prefer Xavier Collins. I think he's not as good in coverage as Koramoah, but he's a more explosive player and would fit what the Patriots can do with finding him a weird place to rush, what Deontay Hightower has been doing. And I think Xavier Collins is a more explosive player, really fits the Patriots, and that would be a very Patriots pick as well. What about number 16, final pick of this episode of the mock draft?
I have the Cards taking J.C. Horn, cornerback. I know you don't love him. I love his size. I think he's going to be a great corner. He reminds me a lot of Xavier Rhodes before Xavier Rhodes just forgot how to play. Because for like 5 years, Xavier Rhodes, if you go look at his stats, he's the only corner in NFL history to shut down Julio Jones every time they played. Like, it was so weird to me. Xavier Rhodes went from elite shutdown corner to I forgot how to play overnight. Yeah. So that's weird. But this kid, J.C. Horn, reminds me of a young Xavier Rhodes. And if he can play like that with that size, I'm like, you put him in that defense with Budda Baker, and I can just keep naming guys. You get it. Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt, whatever. Awesome.
Yeah, and I think he would fit. I think as a corner, he would fit very well in the Cardinals. It's just the Cowboys. The reason I was saying please don't trade back and take J.C. Horn and take Caleb Farley instead is the Cowboys have, like, Trayvon Diggs, I believe is going to be good, but they just don't seem to have anybody else who's any good. Like, Trayvon Diggs is not ready yet to just be put on an island, whereas Patrick Surtain, Caleb Farley, like, if you believe Caleb Farley's healthy, then he's the kind of guy that you could stick on an island to block somebody. And I just don't personally think J.C. Horn can do that. And I'm just scarred by Byron Jones. That's my issue. I want my corners to be ball hawking, take the ball back as well, because that's how you, we've proven that if we don't get the ball back, we don't win. So that's why I don't want us to trade back for J.C. Horn. Jalen Waddle is still on my board. So if I'm the Cardinals, I'm taking him. Let's just go. Let's go.
It's not bad, the Cardinals. how long is AJ Green going to play?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And does Fitzgerald come back even if he does? I mean, you got a guy that you can put next to Hopkins, which just makes him better. You put him on the field with AJ Green. I think it's a great pick if he's
Let's
there.
do it.
Like I said, I think I'm not saying he will be, but he has the potential to be the best receiver in this draft class. And with that said, some guy picked up in the 5th round will end up being, hence Stephon Diggs. Just saying.
That's what'll happen. But the Cardinals will be sat there and thinking like, we know our needs are on defense. We know we've got a good wide receiver core, you know. But it's like the Cowboys with CeeDee Lamb last year. It's just like, let's do it. Like let's just do it. Like you've got to take the jump and say, we'll fix those needs can be fixed. This guy is really, really good, and he's higher on a lot of people's big boards. He's actually not that much higher on my big board, but I just haven't watched him play enough. Like when it was Alabama, I was always watching Devontae Smith, but I really like Jalen Waddle, and I think he'll be a lot of fun in the Cardinals.
I got Chase higher only because I'm convinced that we already know what his floor is.
Yeah, he's already at his floor. Yeah,
his floor is higher than Jalen Waddle's floor.
Yeah,
I think they both have extremely high ceilings, but I think Waddle could be just a freak.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And imagine Jalen Waddle as your 3rd, maybe even your 4th wide receiver. Like that would be a crazy offense with Kyler Murray. They could maybe do with an offensive lineman. Like maybe an Elijah Vera Tucker would be a more sensible pick for them. But at the same time, let's just have a fun.
Well, it also depends on how deep you think the guard class is. Because if you're like me and you, and we both believe Vera Tucker's a guard, not a tackle, then maybe you don't value him as high, and you're like, well, we can pick up somebody else in round 2.
Yeah, they were more sensible picks for the Cardinals to do, but just take him. Just take him. You won't regret it. Like it's the same with CeeDee Lamb to the Cowboys last year. It's like you won't regret it. Like you'll have a great player. You'll have a great wide receiver on your mitts, and nothing can really beat that.
And you're just helping a young quarterback, so it works.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's nothing worse. I'm much happier with my draft this time than I was at the end of 1-16 last time.
I really like your board, except I think you're completely batshit crazy on Justin Fields. But other than that, I completely like your board.
Yeah, there's ones in there where people are very 50-50.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that if they pick him, they're fucking batshit crazy too, or I look like an idiot in 4 years. One of the two.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's loads of stuff in there that I'm loving this draft cycle at the minute. This is the first time where I've got into it as much as this, in terms of like going back and watching loads of film on players. Like I'm sat every day because of this podcast. I'm sat watching college players every single day because I'm nervous that you're going to be like, Matty, should we do a 2nd round? Should we do a mock draft of a 2nd round? And I was like,
that's almost insanity. Trying to do a 2nd round mock is insanity. But somebody's going to be up at 3 a.m. watching the draft.
Oh yeah, I'll be there. Cynthia,
but we got you in this year. We got you in.
I'm stuck now. I always watch the draft, but I've never been so like, yes, let's do that. Like sit down, just because it's a lot harder for people from the UK to watch college football. It's very difficult for people from the UK to watch college football. I like your draft as well, mate. Some of the stuff, obviously, where you've got Justin Fields falling, I don't think he'll fall that far. And same with, I think Kyle Pitts is I just think he's going to the Dolphins, you know, that's it. But apart from that, I love it. I like the board.
All right, guys. All right. Well, that's it for our picks 1-16. Stay tuned for 17 through 32 of our mock draft 2.0. And I just want to ask you guys all for a little favor. If you're watching this, we see a lot of growth going with Yankee and the Brit, and we appreciate you all and love you for it. But go show some love on YouTube. We're not getting very much movement on YouTube. Facebook and everything else is climbing. So go show us some love on YouTube and subscribe. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.
And if you are watching us on Facebook right now, don't forget to go and like our Facebook page where Jay puts up loads of great memes about football, loads of great stats. Like all the latest news goes on that page straight away. And all of our videos are really easy to find there as well. So if you're not a YouTube kind of person, you are a Facebook person, just go like the Facebook page. What does 2 seconds do for liking a page? You won't regret it.
All right, guys, there you have it. All right, thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.